After seeking the vote of confidence twice within 3 months' time, Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has expedited preparations to expand the Council of Ministers. Premier Dahal has also hinted towards reforming the province governments based on consensus in the newly formed alliance. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanama. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal faces challenges in distribution of ministries among the alliance parties. 16 ministries up for grabs, 21 aspirants emerge. Investors in Nepal seem alarmed as big international banks report a financial crisis. Experts dismiss the worry, saying Nepalese banks have made safe investments. US urges Chinese President Xi Jinping to press Putin to halt the war in Ukraine during his parleys in Moscow. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Kiev. And 6 new players included in the 23-member squad of the national team for Prime Minister Three Nations Cup. Nepal take on Laos in the inaugural match tomorrow. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has begun parleys to give full shape to the cabinet a day after he received the confidence vote from the House of Representatives. The Premier, however, faces challenges as he has to manage aspirants from 10 parties of the ruling alliance along with independent lawmakers, with a maximum number of ministries set by the Constitution at 25. Parties of the coalition have staked their claims on ministries, which totals to 21, while only 16 ministerial posts are currently available. The largest party, Nepali Congress, has claimed 7 to 9 ministries, including the Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of Physical Infrastructure. The current cabinet is formed with 5 ministers, including leaders from CPN Maoist Centre and 1 from Janamat Party. The Premier's own party, Maoist Centre, is eyeing for the Ministry of Finance. Janata Samajwadi Party, that has 14 lawmakers in the parliament, has claimed for 1 more ministry, as well as the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister. CPN Unified Socialist and Loktantrik Samajwadi have claimed 2 ministries each. The government's capital expenditure, despite the lapse of 8 months of the ongoing fiscal year, has remained at less than 25%. In this scenario, the National Planning Commission has begun legworks to hold a meeting of the committee formed to address issues in the implementation of national projects. The committee has been chaired by Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal and is believed to address the problems witnessed in the implementation of government projects. A subcommittee meeting has been called for tomorrow to decide on the agenda that the committee will look into. The Commission has called on the committee to identify the reasons behind the government's failure to spend the development budget. Ministry of Physical Infrastructure, Energy, Defence, among others, are to present their share of complications experienced during the implementation of the budget. The construction of Nijgarh International Airport, establishment of chemical fertilizer factory and the handover of projects to provincial levels are expected to be dwelt on during the committee's meeting. The meeting, that has been due since 1 year, will be attended by the Prime Minister, Chief Ministers and chairpersons of financial commissions. Now, investors in Nepal have been taken aback by the series of crises faced by renowned international banks like the Credit Suisse and Silicon Valley. However, experts have said there is no reason to be alarmed yet, citing minimum bad debts at Nepalese banks. American Signature Bank faced a financial crisis, having invested in startups, technology and cryptocurrency, all of which failed to yield the bank its desired returns. Silicon Valley too failed to get returns on its investments, and Swiss bank Credit Suisse had to be rescued by its competitor USB. Meanwhile, Nepal's share market has witnessed the impacts of the financial crisis of the international banks. The index for banking sector has dropped by 61 points, which share market experts are trying to quell, saying that Nepalese banks had adequate security against loans disbursed to face such crisis. Nepalese banks have collected a deposit of some 5.4 trillion rupees and invested around 4.8 trillion, 67% of which has been disbursed as loans against real estate properties. They also add banks have also used 865 billion rupees of the deposits to invest on government bonds, including 257 billion rupees on treasury bills and 608 billion in development impact bonds. As of the latest data, banks have a bad debt of 100 billion rupees, which is 54% higher than last year. Experts have suggested the government introduce relief packages for banks to control bad debts and reduce the risk of any potential crisis. Moving on, the Election Commission has called upon the political parties to register themselves for the election for 3 vacant positions at the lower house slated for the 23rd of April. Parties to contest in the election can register themselves from tomorrow. Candidacies can be registered on the 3rd of April. The Election Commission has set registration of political parties from tomorrow until 26th of March. Candidacies are to be registered on the 3rd of April. Grievances are to be filed on the 4th, while the list of candidates after required investigations is to be published on the 5th of April. Candidates can withdraw their name on the 6th of April, while the Commission will assign the election symbol on the same day. The Election Commission, which had begun updating the voters' name list on March 15th, will conclude required works on 30th of March. Elections are to be held in the constituency of President Ramchandra Paudel in Tanahu 1, Vice President Ram Sahaya Prasad Yadav in Bara Constituency 2 and Chitwan Constituency 2 of Ravi Lamichhane, whose position as lawmaker was scrapped by the Supreme Court. There are a total of 134,000 voters in Chitwan 2, 123,000 in Tanahu 1 and 106,000 in Bara Constituency 2. In our Public Voice segment, today we've asked in several provinces regarding general public's access to health services at local levels. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
जानलाई त सजिलो छ तर डाक्टर भेटाउन चाहिँ गाह्रो छ बाहिरदेखि किन्नुपर्ने हुन्छ डाक्टरहरु पनि धेरै उपस्थित नभएकै अवस्था हुन्छ
ठुलो ठुलो डाक्टर भएदेखि भए हामीलाई जन सजिलो हुन्थ्यो
अहिले त ठनगरी नै गयो ड्रेसिङको लागि पनि यही आउनु पर्यो
स्रोत साधनको कमी छ अब तपाईको चाहिँ डाक्टरहरुको चाहिँ कमी छ
सामानहरु नभरोगी के होगी न डाक्टरहरु भनेको बेलामा हुँदैन
असजिलो छ भने जस्तो अब जाँच चेक हुँदैन अनि ठुलठुलो डाक्टर हुनुहुन्न
त्यो सेवा लिन त यो पालिकातिर त अब भने जस्तो उहरु पनि हुनुहुन्न डाक्टरहरु पनि हुनुहुन्न
असन्तुष्टि नै छु यो पाँच थर अस्पतालको हकमा चाहिँ
मेरो क्षेत्रमा स्वास्थ्य सेवाको हिसाब गर्नुपर्दा क्रियाकलापगत रूपमा हेर्दाखेरि डाक्टरहरुको पनि अभाव रहेको पाइन्छ
भनेको बेला डाक्टर भेटिदैन अनि पछि औषधि दिनलाई पनि एकदम लामो लाइन लागिरहेको
स्वास्थ्य सेवा चाहिँ हुनेका लागि धेरै सहज छ जो गरिब छ जो दुखी छ त्यसका लागि चाहिँ अभाव छ
अप्ठ्यारो त छ किनभने हस्पिटल बने पनि त्यहाँ कुनै पनि सुविधा छैन स्रोत छैन गएपछि डाक्टर भेटिदैन
It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
But before today's question, let's take a look at the results from yesterday's poll. Yesterday, we asked you what should be done to raise export of products made in Nepal. 29% voted for option A, investment-friendly policy, 35% for B, raise domestic production, and 36% for C, prioritize commercialization. And here's today's question. What is the reason for the delay in holding the meeting of Constitutional Council? Your options are A, lack of relevant law, B, politicization at the court, and C, result of instability. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for the international update. The Kremlin has said Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping had held a thorough exchange of views during their first day of talks and had discussed Beijing's peace plan for Ukraine. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov declined to give further details, telling reporters to wait for a joint statement after the two leaders meet for a second day of talks. He said the two leaders had talked about China's proposal, a 12-point paper calling for a de-escalation and eventual ceasefire in Ukraine, but again declined to elaborate. Putin yesterday said he had carefully studied China's ideas, viewed them with respect and would discuss them with Xi. The Chinese document sets out some general principles but contains no detailed plan for how to end the war, now in its 13th month. Meanwhile, the U.S. has urged Chinese President Xi Jinping to press Vladimir Putin to halt the war crimes in Ukraine. The White House's National Security Council spokesman called on Xi to urge his Russian counterpart to withdraw troops from Ukraine. John Kirby said seeking a ceasefire would not be enough. On Monday, Xi and Putin held more than 4 hours of what were described as informal talks. There are concerns that China's support for Russia, currently based on technology and trade, might become military potentially including artillery shells. China released its plan to end the war last month. It includes ceasing hostilities and resuming peace talks. In another development, Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is making a surprise visit to Ukraine for talks with President Volodymyr Zelensky. He is expected to voice solidarity and support for Ukraine following Russia's invasion. Japan and China see each other as regional rivals. Since Russia's war in Ukraine began, Tokyo has provided Kyiv with a mixture of humanitarian, financial and non-lethal military aid. It's time now for the sports update.
Sports news.
6 new players have been selected for the 23-member squad of the national team of Nepal, announced by head coach Vincenzo Alberto Anis, set to compete in the Prime Minister Three Nations Cup. The team, led by custodian Kiran Chemjong, also includes goalkeeper Abhishek Baral, who has been included in the national team for the first time. Baral is playing for Sadobata Youth Club at Marty's Memorial A Division League. Armed police force defender Sunny Shrestha and Padam Bhattarai of Kumaltar are also new faces in the squad. APF midfielder Manikumar Lama, Sumit Shrestha of Manang Marshangdi Club and Sadobata striker Deepak Singh Thakuri have also been included in the national team for the first time. Meanwhile, Army captain Bharat Khawas and Friends defender Aditya Chaudhary have returned to the national team after a long gap. Coach Anis has said that the team was announced on the basis of performance of players at the ongoing Marty's Memorial A Division League. Bimal Gharti Magar and Sujal Shrestha have not been included in the team because of injuries. Team Nepal begin the Three Nations Cup with a clash against Laos tomorrow. Laos and Bhutan are competing alongside host Nepal at the tournament. Now, speaking during a pre-match conference ahead of the Three Nations Cup, national team captain Kiran Chemjong has said the team faces challenges in its future tournaments given the absence of majority of its players. More than 40 players have left the country in the past 6 months, most of whom have left unable to see a stable future in the country and the sports sector. Chemjong said majority of his teammates with whom he had shared a dressing room had left for abroad, but that there was no alternative to accepting their absence and focus on the match ahead. Meanwhile, this is the first tournament for head coach Vincenzo Alberto Anis.
Many exciting, too many new players. Will be, I count, 10 under 23. And I think in these 18 days that I was here, I hope to select the right one.
This is also the first time since 2016 that Laos and Nepal are facing each other. Prior to this, Nepal had defeated Laos in the penalties in the semi-final of Solidarity Cup. Most of the players in the Laos side are below 22 years of age.
It's an honor for us. It's a good challenge and chance also to play good teams, which is similar to our level, hopefully, and is a little bit different style of football than in the Southeast Asian region. We have a very young team with a few exceptions, and we are building up for the future.
Likewise, this tournament is also a comeback for Bhutan in international football after 3 years.
International match 3 years now, but we are very excited to play the international after the 3 match, and we all are very excited to play the match, and we are taking like match against Laos and Nepal as a motivation after playing after 3 years. So we are very excited.
Prior to this tournament, Nepal and Bhutan had played in the SAF Championship. And up next is the weather update. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Good night.